Good morning, everyone. My name is Matthew Ray, and I'm the MPP for Perth Wellington. And thank you to Dynamag for hosting us today. It's a pleasure to have Premier Ford and Minister McNaughton in Perth Wellington. I also want to recognize and thank Mayor Matheson, MP John Nader, and the President of the Automotive Parts Manufacturing Association, Flavio Volpe, for being here with us this morning as well. Dynamag has been a business leader in the City of Stratford for 25 years. Our government understands the importance of working with businesses such as Dynamag, and we are laser focused on retaining and attracting good-paying jobs in Ontario. It's an honor to host Premier Ford and Minister McNaughton in Perth Wellington today, and it's a true testament to our government's commitment to the economic development of rural Ontario to have them both here so soon after the election. It is my pleasure now to welcome my friend and colleague, Minister McNaughton, to the podium. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Matt, and congratulations again on your election here in Perth Wellington. It's great to be here at Dynamag in Stratford with all of you, with Matt Ray, Premier Ford, and the workers who continue keeping Ontario moving forward. This summer, I've been thanking workers right across the province, those who work hard not for fame or fortune, but to keep our province turning around. We need more people like that. To build Ontario, we need all hands on deck, and that is especially true in automotive manufacturing. We need more auto workers. Our auto workers are heroes, making the vehicles that our families and businesses depend on. They have meaningful careers where they can be proud of what they build, support their family, and give back to their community. By partnering with the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association on their 2021 Impact Award-winning project, we're lifting people up. It's my pleasure to welcome their president and our friend, Flavio Volpe, who's been leading this project. Flavio, over to you.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here with you today at Dynamag. The challenges of an aging workforce in Ontario's automotive sector have heightened the importance of hiring, training, and most importantly, retaining talent to expand a skilled workforce. The Skills Development Fund has allowed us to address this issue head-on with APMA's EDI Fund. We've been lucky enough to work alongside Minister McNaughton and the Premier to ensure that we can meet our goals to build, attract, and develop a new talent pipeline that will construct new pathways for historically excluded groups such as youth, women, newcomers, and racialized communities. The EDI Fund will support employers and community partners in their efforts to access, train, and retain meaningful employment for new hires. It is my absolute honor to welcome my friend, Premier Doug Ford, to the podium.
Well, thank you, and good morning, everyone. And thank you, MPP Ray, Minister McNaughton, and Mayor Matheson. Thank you for having us, and of course, my good friend Flavio Volpe for your kind words. And I got to tell you about Flavio. You know, he's traveled around the province, created tens of thousands of jobs in the auto sector. He's one of our #1 salespeople in the province, in the country. So thanks, Flavio. I know I speak for all of us when I say we couldn't be more confident about the future of the hardworking women and men of this province, and a good example are the women and men behind us. They're absolute champions, working hard, and I know, Mayor, you mentioned that they have 7 plants, Dynamag, just in this region. That's incredible. So thank you, Dynamag. And I want to say how grateful we are to be joined by Andrew and the entire team here at Dynamag, which has been a staple in this community and a reliable employer of Ontario workers since 1997. But they know firsthand that right now, Ontario is facing a generational labor shortage. Across the province, we're short 380,000 jobs are going unfilled. That is 380,000 steady paychecks that could support workers and families. That's money that should be in the workers' pockets. And you know, folks, I always said, 4 years ago when I took office, They lost 300,000 jobs, the previous government. But when you create the environment and the conditions for a province to thrive, investments come from all over the world. And thanks to our number one selling feature are the great women and men right behind us, skilled workforce, second to none anywhere in the world. And as our government implements its ambitious plan to build Ontario, as we unlock the province's economic potential, we need all hands on deck. No matter if that's truer than nowhere is that truer than in our auto sector. Because over the past 2 years, we have secured a historic string of investments worth nearly $14 billion. That's $14 billion, not to mention all the spin-off jobs that come from that $14 billion. It's 7-to-1 jobs. When there's an auto sector job created, 7-to-1 reciprocal jobs are created. And with these investments come thousands of good, steady jobs that need an Ontario worker to fill them, with hundreds of thousands of additional indirect jobs up and down the supply chain. These investments will put Ontario on the map, from Windsor to Oshawa and everywhere in between, as the North American capital of electric vehicle production. And Ontario's auto sector is desperate for more skilled workers, because the cars of the future will be built right here in Ontario by Ontario workers. It is an industry that offers good paying jobs and a meaningful career. And so today, I'm proud to announce a $5 million investment in training to prepare 500 more workers for well-paying jobs in Ontario's auto sector. These workers will come from underrepresented groups, and this program will develop the skills they need to succeed for in-demand careers in assembly, logistics, quality control, and more. We're working with our partners in the Automotive Parts Manufacturing Association to deliver job placements across their network for over 300 employers all across this province. At the end of their training, every participant will receive a job offer from a local employer, leading directly to a good job and a bigger paycheck for hundreds of Ontario workers. This program is just one part of our government's Skills Development Fund, a $200 million investment in connecting job seekers with the skills and training they need to find well-paying careers close to home. We're setting up Ontario workers to succeed and helping local businesses get the skilled labor they depend on to grow and thrive. Before I turn it over to questions, I want to address the situation in Ontario hospitals and the health system. I want to be clear, Ontarians continue to have access to the care they need when they need it. In fact, 9 out of 10 high urgency patients are finishing their emergency visit within targeted times, and surgeries are happening at nearly 90% of the pre-pandemic rates. That's welcome news, but it doesn't change the fact that our hospitals and emergency departments are feeling increased pressures right now. That's why our government has added 3,100 new hospital beds, added over 10,500 more healthcare workers, including nurses, personal support workers. It's why we're working with the College of Nurses to add more internationally educated nurses into the system, having already added 760. And it's why our government is working with our frontline partners, including Ontario Health, the hospitals, regulatory colleges, health sector unions, and associations to address the pressure our system is facing. I also want to be clear, this isn't a problem that is unique to Ontario. When I was out in BC with Victoria, every province, every premier, all 13 of us, we saw the problem. Right now is feeling the same pressures as Ontario is, and it's why the premiers from coast to coast to coast, regardless of their partisan stripe, continues to urge the federal government to come to the table and talk about increasing health care funding. It's not sustainable that the federal government is giving us 22%, we're paying 78%. and that's across the country. Unacceptable. We're going to continue asking the federal government to step up and do their fair share. There's never been a more important time to do so. I want to thank you, and may God bless the people of Ontario. Thank you.
We'll now take questions from the microphone. If media with questions could please form a line behind me. It'll be one question and one follow-up per reporter.
Hi, Premier. It's Richard with City News.
Richard,
how you doing?
Good to see you again.
Good to see you. I mean, more than 20 ERs and ICUs were forced to flat out close over the weekend. As we speak, 3 ICUs at Toronto General are at capacity. Your health minister yesterday had no new plan for this. Do you have a plan to fix the crisis in healthcare? What's new that you're going to do today, Premier?
Well, Richard, thanks for the question. I'll just run through the plan. First of all, over the last couple of years, and this just didn't happen yesterday, it didn't happen a week before, and it's not unique to Ontario. It's happening across the entire country. It's, a matter of fact, happening across the world right now. We've hired over 10,500 new healthcare workers. We've added 3,100 beds. Every single jurisdiction in Ontario is either getting a renovated or a brand new hospital, 50 of them right across the province. We're spending over $40 billion. We're adding a new medical school until we can graduate more docs out of the medical school. We're paying for the tuition for nurses to come on board, and we're trying to give them an incentive. We gave the nurses across the province a well-deserved $5,000 retention bonus. I call it a thank you bonus, which, by the way, is equal to 7.6% on the average increase. And we're going to continue coming up with ideas and working with the College of Nurses to get the internationally trained nurses through the College of Nurses in a much faster, rapid process. And I know the Minister of Health is putting a directive to the College of Nurses asking them to speed up the process. We're in need of more nurses, as many as we can get.
You're asking the federal government for more healthcare money, but the Financial Accountability Office the other week said you spent less on healthcare the past fiscal year than what you planned to. Why is your government underspending on healthcare, sir?
Well, no, that's not accurate. It's a time and shot when they look at that. We're actually spending more money than any government in the history of Ontario. We're spending billions and billions of dollars. You can look at last year's budget versus this year's budget. Is billions of additional dollars.
Hi, Premier. Matthew Bingley with Global News. During the early days of the pandemic, your Solicitor General requested the federal government through the Red Cross and the Army to come in and help the overburdened system. Will you do that now? Because the system is clearly overburdened with hospitals and ERs being forced to close.
No, we aren't going to reach out to the Army. It was a whole different situation when we started this pandemic and there was a crisis in long-term care. I'm very confident. I'm very confident working with the colleges of nurses, speeding up the process to get more nurses, working with the hospitals, the CEOs of the hospitals. We'll be able to get through it. Now, let's keep in mind, and make no mistake about it, there's a logjam. But 90% of the patients are getting taken care of when they're going in the hospital. The surgeries are at 90%. Can we do better? 100%. I'm a strong believer in continuous improvement, investment, and that's exactly what we're doing.
You talk about throwing everything you can at this. Why not scrap Bill 124? You talked about those incentives. It's clearly what you have done is not enough to stop these closures and these departments being forced to close their doors to patients. Yeah. When you're talking about luring the best people to come here and work, should you not have a healthcare system that they can rely on to lure them in?
Well, let's again put that into perspective. Bill 124 expires as the new contracts come up. We're going to work with the unions and we're going to move forward with it. Actually, it's the hospitals that make the deals with the nurses. But also, let's keep in mind that every other province doesn't have that, and they're feeling a crisis. Let's keep in mind that Alberta gave 1%, and we just gave 7.6% increase on the average with a $5,000 bonus. Let me tell you, I appreciate the frontline healthcare workers. They work their backs off day in and day out. They're exhausted. I get it. And, we couldn't function without the great work that they do. The nurses, the PSWs, the doctors. Do we need more people? 100% we need more people. Are we willing to get more people? We're doing everything in our power to get more people on board. We're hiring an additional 5,000 nurses on top of the 10,500 healthcare workers that we have. Yes.
Hi, Premier. Siobhan, CTV News.
Hi, Siobhan.
What about the nurses? We are hearing from nurses who say they haven't seen that money yet. I know another payment's coming up in September, but they're still waiting. Some nurses are.
Well, there's two parts of it. They ended up getting the first part, the 2,500, and the second part's coming in September.
They're saying they haven't seen any money whatsoever.
You know something? I'll have to check with the hospitals. They have to make sure that they get this done as soon as possible. If you're saying they haven't, all of them?
Not all of them.
Okay.
No, not all.
Let me just double check on that. I'll be able to get back to you. But the hospitals need to pick their socks up and start getting the checks out the door. But the other 2,500 is coming in September.
You were trying to reassure Ontarians that they'll have access to care when they need it. I think you could argue people aren't getting it where they need it. People are having to drive out of town. We had a situation this weekend where people could not deliver babies in an entire section of Ontario. They had to go elsewhere. Is that fair? Is that really access to health care that people need where they need it, when they need it?
Well, the last figures I saw, they're being taken care of. Any emergencies being taken care of 90%. 9 out of 10 patients are within the target of the health system. And I'm first to admit, can there more things can be done? We're throwing everything in the kitchen sink at this. And we're going to continue doing that to make sure that we have the proper health care that people require. But again, I just want to emphasize 9 out of 10 people going into the emergency departments are getting taken care of. Yes.
Hi, Premier. Carly Weeks with the Globe and Mail. You're saying that the healthcare system is working. The majority of patients are being treated within reasonable times. Healthcare leaders and people who are working in hospitals say the system has collapsed, that it's never been this bad, and that broad changes are needed, and that simply, hiring, while important, is not going to fix this. So they're calling for broader changes, like an investment in primary care, so more patients can have their basic health care needs met. What will it take for you to commit to making some of those changes, those long-term changes that are needed?
Yeah, good question. So a couple things. The home care. People want to be taken care at home opposed to going to the hospital. Primary care docs, they're incredible. We need to make sure that they're in the office seeing the patients. We're going to continue to invest into the nurses, into PSWs. No matter if it's the PSWs, we gave their increase, which I think they're golden. We're looking to hire 27,000 more PSWs. We're going to do everything we can to bring it up to 100%. But again, I want to just mention, this isn't unique to Ontario. This is happening across the country. It's across the world. We need more people involved in healthcare. We're encouraging them by paying for their tuition if they go into underserved areas and work there for 2 years.
What is your message to those people who are in emergency rooms right now waiting for care, waiting for hours, or family members of sick loved ones who are waiting on stretchers for days to receive a hospital bed?
Mm-hmm. Again, I'm just going to repeat the numbers. 9 out of 10 people that are going into emergency areas, because we measure it, are getting taken care of within the health parameters. And I believe from the time they walk in, time they get treated, time they leave, it's within 8 hours. Can we do better? We can always strive to do better. Can the hospitals do better? 100% they can do better. And can the College of Nurses do better? 100%. Can the province and the Ministry of Health do better? We all can. But I can assure you, they aren't sitting back. We're throwing everything we possibly can at the system, the health system. Plus, there's a shortage, and these nurses have worked their backs off. The frontline healthcare workers have worked their backs off. They've taken some time off on vacation, well deserved, but we need to make sure that we still have more nurses, more docs, more PSWs to fill those positions. And no one works harder than the frontline healthcare workers.
Hi, Premier. Holly Mackenzie-Suter with Canadian Press. A couple questions on those frontline healthcare workers that you're talking about. And following up on Bill 124, like from the nurses' perspective, what we're hearing from them is that this bill has kind of become a symbol of your government not respecting them and not valuing them. So, you know, you're saying it expires, but would it be that hard to just repeal it and get rid of it now? Like, what's stopping you from making that gesture if they're saying it would actually keep people in the field?
No, I appreciate that. I understand that. But I also want to mention that they got the largest increase in the entire country. That's not mentioned in that comment there. You know, we gave everyone a $5,000 bonus, which is a higher increase than any other jurisdiction in the entire country. When it expires, the hospitals will negotiate fairly with the nurses. It's not our government, it's the hospitals that will negotiate fairly with the nurses.
Right. And I was going to ask you as well about that retention bonus. Like, it sounds like you're saying they got a raise so we can be patient with the Bill 124, but even with that bonus, it seems like the nurses are still leaving the profession. Like, do you take that as a sign that they're still not being paid enough if they're still not satisfied with this bonus, and will you commit to paying them more? Do you acknowledge that they don't get paid enough for the important work that they do?
Well, first of all, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's a big thank you. When we gave the $5,000, you can call it retention, you can call it thank you. I appreciate the great work they do. I appreciate the PSWs. That's why they ended up getting a $3 increase. We're acknowledging them. We need more nurses enrolling into the College of Nurses, be it internationally or through the colleges, getting trained until they can be part of the solution. And there's no one that thinks the world of the nurses and the frontline healthcare workers, docs and PSWs more than I do. And I appreciate all their hard work. And it's tough work. I couldn't do that.
This will be the last question.
Okay.
Good morning, Premier.
Hi.
Why haven't you spoken publicly about the ER closures and the strain on our hospitals until today?
Why didn't I'm sorry?
Why haven't you spoken publicly and addressed the closures in the ERs and the strain on our hospitals to Ontarians until today?
Well, you know, throughout the whole campaign, I was speaking about that. It's like every single stop, every single day. Our Minister of Health was out there. We're working hand in hand with the CEOs of the hospitals, working with the head of the unions. We aren't sitting back, I can assure you that. We're continuously working with the system to improve it.
Hi, Premier. Carmen Grillo with CBC-KW. Just wondering what your government is doing to support rural hospitals, in particular in St. Mary's and Fergus, who have also been struggling with closures.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's so hard to hear you. Can you come?
Sure, no worries. I'm wondering what your government is doing to support rural hospitals as well, like in St. Mary's and Fergus, who are also struggling with staffing their ER rooms. What is your message to them?
Well, to the hospitals, we're doing everything we can. We want to really start, well, we're pushing the College of Nurses to expedite the internationally trained nurses. We ended up getting another 760 through the system, but that's not good enough. We need a lot more. We added 3,100 beds to the system. We hired 10,500 workers since the pandemic. We're throwing billions of additional dollars on infrastructure, making sure that every region in this province either gets a new hospital or gets an addition to the hospitals. I can assure you we aren't sparing a penny, and we're going to continue moving forward on this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.